Hello, welcome to another episode of the JC Pod. I'm your host, JC. This is episode number 28, which is really awesome because that means next week we'll be hitting the big 3-0. And yeah, just slowly moving this train along the tracks. But yeah, for today I just have like 3 topics, 2 NFL topics, and then I'm just going to go over general March Madness news. The 2 NFL topics I have to deal with quarterbacks and the question on what's going to happen with him. First one's going to be Lamar Jackson. What's going to happen with him? Is he going to be a Baltimore Raven, or is he going to be a New York Jet, or is he going to be a Denver Bronco, or an Indianapolis Colt? Like, what's going to go on with him? Obviously, I don't think he's going to the Broncos, by the way, but so other question, what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers? Is he going to retire? Is he going to be a Jet? Is he coming back to the Packers? Whole lot to talk about, and between those 2 topics, that's going to be very interesting. And then, yeah, like I said, Madness news at the end. So I'll jump in first with some Aaron Rodgers talk. When it comes to him playing, I for sure think he's going to play next year. I mean, he has $50 million on the table, and that's a lot of money. Plus, too, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say like I know the guy, obviously, because I obviously don't know the guy. But from watching the Pat McAfee show on like Tuesdays and everything, and just seeing like how he interacts, I want to say that I think he's going to come back next year. He didn't play the worst football yesterday. He started to have a little bit of a downcline in some of the stuff he was doing, but it's hard to tell if that was like the younger receiving cores and not having the best weapons around him, as in Devontae Adams, or if that was just like more on him just finally showing some of his age. Because yeah, when it comes to that, I really don't know. And I thought, because I didn't think he had the worst year last year, but he by far did not have any of his good years. Compared to his good years, he not too good. But no, apparently he should be out of his darkness retreat by now. He said he was doing it over the weekend, and it should be past 4 days no matter what time he went in now. So I'm sure we still have a little bit to hear on from an answer from Aaron Rodgers about what he's going to do, but I don't know. I just feel like he's playing next year. I think personally for me, I'm stuck between is he going to be a Jet or a Packer. I think those are the 2 teams that are probably going to have the best chance of getting Aaron Rodgers. I believe that. I don't know, my first instinct is he's going to go back to Green Bay. I mean, it's one of those things, it's very rare for a guy to play with one full team for his full career. And as much as, like, the Packers have been making noise, like, we'll definitely move on from him, we will move on from him. I don't know if they really want to do that to themselves, because I don't think they understand how bleak it looks when you don't have a guy. And if they do, I think they'll realize that, hey, maybe we should keep him even if he is having a little bit of draw behind him. Because, I mean, I know they didn't have the best year last year, but it came down to the final game. If he was able to beat the Lions, I mean, they're in the playoffs. It's crazy to think about, I know, but with how bad the season went last year, they still had a chance to make the playoffs. You saw Aaron Jones took a bit of a deal down. That's the main reason I feel like this too. It's Aaron Jones just took a deal down shortly. That was like, he basically was a pay cut. I don't know how much, but it was at least like a little bit of a pay cut. And that makes you tend to think like, oh, they're setting up for maybe like one more year or something. Like I think next year will be probably the last ride. Will Aaron Rodgers continue to play after that? No clue, honestly. We'll have to see what happens after next season. But I definitely think he comes back I don't want to say definitely. I would say probably 80% chance that he comes back as a Packer next year and finishes. And then I would say maybe like a 70-60% chance he finishes his career with the Packers. I could definitely see him play next year and then maybe play 1 or 2 more years, similar to like what Brett Favre did with another team. Who would that team be? I don't know. Because at that point, I don't know what jobs are going to be open next year. But when it comes to this year, I mean, there's a lot of places that need a lot of quarterbacks. Like, for example, Geno Smith. I think his quarterback coach, I don't know from when, but some type of coach he was really close to went to Tampa Bay, and guess who needs a quarterback? So, I mean, there's a lot of quarterback openings this year. So, I don't know. It's one of those weird things where it's like if he wants to leave, there's a lot of jobs open, but are they good jobs? And then also, too, does he want to leave? Because, like, I just feel like, especially with how late into his career he is, I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys who cares about this, but he's only played for the Packers. And that's, especially nowadays, like, Peyton Manning didn't even play just for the Colts, or Tom Brady didn't just play for the Patriots. So he's one of the rare of the last few people who, like, only played for one team ever. Because especially nowadays, like, that's almost a rarity at this point. So I think, like I said, I think he would come back for the Packers for 1 more year, but that's just my personal feeling. I don't know for sure if he's going to do that or not. I could see, like, why he would maybe want to leave after everything that's been going on, but, like, I think the best situation for him, maybe other than that, would be the Jets. But I don't know if, like, how the media reacts in New York. I don't know if that'd be good for him. Not saying he can't handle it or anything, but that's Jets media. Just, whew. Especially, too, because, like, at least for, like, the Packers, Aaron Rodgers has, what? I don't know how many years he's been pro. Probably, like, 15-ish now. Off the top of my head, I can't think of it. But for however many years he's been pro, he's had at least one Super Bowl with the Packers, and he's had a decent amount of success with the Packers to prove, like, hey, give me a little bit of time. We can make this work out. Versus if you went to the Jets, first year, that's a team that is ready to go and expecting a lot. So if he underperforms, it could get very, very, very loud. But, I mean, I think that's about where I stand with Aaron Rodgers. So I think it's 90% chance he comes back to play, 80% chance he plays for the Packers. And then the following season, I say there's 70-60% chance he comes back. I definitely know he's a lot closer to the end than he is the beginning. So I don't know how much longer he wants to keep his foot in the race and keep going. But, yeah, I just don't know if I see him in not a Packer uniform next year. I mean, as much as they've come out like, we're willing to trade him, we're willing to do this, is it going to be enough to, like, want to trade him and get the right... They're going to have to get the right package for it. And I feel like they're going to ask for a lot because he is a future Hall of Fame quarterback and has won a Super Bowl. Maybe not had his best year, yes, but the only way they don't ask for a lot is if they're just so tired of him that they're like, you know what, screw it. Just take him, basically, and they sell him for nothing. But, yeah, that's basically, I want to say Aaron Rodgers comes back. If not, I would say probably the Jets. Something real quick that just came out from Ian Rappaport. There could be setbacks, progress could be slow, but he's a young man, and it looks like he's a fast healer. Things are going well. Let's hope it keeps going that way. And that's about the whole Kyler situation, because like I mentioned, I think I mentioned in the last episode, there's going to be no Kyler week 1, so. And probably no Kyler week 2. Probably no Kyler until like October-ish, maybe November-ish with his knee issue. And that's saying no setbacks, so. We'll have to see on that situation. But yeah, to wrap up the Aaron Rodgers situation, like I said, I think he's going to be a Packer or a Jet next year. Want to lean towards a Packer. I feel like the Jets are going to get someone like Jimmy G or something like that. But Jimmy G has been rumored to go to the Bucs even, so that's going to be a fun one to talk about sometime here in the near future. But final guess, I'm just going to say he's probably going to stay with the Packers for this year. And then when it comes to next year, I think retirement's a real option, but I think he maybe signs. I would say Aaron Rodgers has. Like, if I had to put a year on it, I would say at max he has 4 or 5 years left, so I think he plays 5. No. I could just see him going for 5. I would say he probably plays around that sweet spot, 3-year sweet spot. So maybe I think he finishes out this year with the Packers, and then maybe for some reason signs a 2-year deal somewhere else, tries to win somewhere else with the team that's almost set, and then that's probably where he calls it. Very similar to what kind of Brady did, maybe with an added few years, but let's kind of see the route I see Aaron Rodgers going on. Now, when it comes to Lamar, man, this situation is wide open. I have no idea what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson, honestly. Like, it's the worse the longer it goes, the worse it gets for the Ravens. Because, I think they would want to keep him, right, with how good he's been and everything. But they're coming out saying we can't assure you that he's going to be our quarterback when they're talking to OCs and everything. So I want to say, like, Lamar leans back, but I feel like this is starting to enter some dangerous water. I mean, I get he's asking for a fully guaranteed contract, and with the health and the years and everything. As a Ravens, first off, very smart move by the Browns, unintentionally or not, just completely messing up the QB market, because, especially in their division, like, the Bengals, they made the Bengals go from being, like, cheapos. I hate to say it, but, no indoor practice facility, no one owned their stadium, no stuff like that. So now they have people, like, owning their stadium. They have an indoor practice field now, like, they made a lot of people in that division be like, and even in the NFL in general, obviously, like, some of the deals, I think, like, the Kyler Murray deal that followed after, they're like, yeah, no, we aren't guaranteeing that much money, but that guaranteed contract is going to be something we see in the near future here soon. I would not be shocked if that happens within, like, the next 10 to 15 years. Also, something that just got tweeted out, sorry to get distracted, a little off topic. So apparently, the number 1 overall pick, Anthony Richardson, is 4th overall, plus 750. Wow. I know he's the most raw. I don't think he goes number 1. He is very, very raw from what it sounds like. Him and Will Levis both are kind of raw. He's the rawest of the raw. If the talent's there, I'd love to be proved wrong and have him do something, but I just hope the Colts don't see that. No, but, it'll be interesting. I'm kind of interested to see how the draft goes, because there's a lot of questions around the quarterback position, and I don't as of right now, like, I can't tell you who's going to be a guy in that draft. I like C.J. Stroud, but you know how the Ohio State quarterback curse goes, so I don't really know. But yeah, back to Lamar. Bro, I at least dropped this thing one. It started to become an episode tradition that I dropped this boy. But no, back to Lamar. I think that I would want to say he's probably going to come back as a Raven next year. If he comes back under the franchise tag, I think there's a good chance he might be gone and try to push somewhere else. If they're able to get a deal done, obviously I think he's going to stay. But this has been like one of the wildest, more recent situations in the NFL. Like I think he represents himself too. So obviously that adds a little bit more into it. But man, I mean, the fact that the Ravens haven't signed him makes me wonder, like, what are they thinking to where they're like, maybe we should move on from him? Like, do they not like the success he's brought? Do they not like, I'm not going to say, I mean, he can throw the ball. I mean, yes, he has his issues with some accuracy sometimes here and there, but he can throw it. So I didn't, like, it's the issue with, like, the accuracy, or are they just, like, tired of this Lamar Jackson timetable and want to move on? Like, I'm curious why they have not paid him yet. Apparently they're, like, millions, like, 10 to 20 million, even like 30, 40, maybe even up to 50 million apart in talks with something that came out. Don't know how true that is, obviously, but I mean, it's just, man, this whole situation with Lamar is just, the longer it draws out, the worse I feel that about just like him staying there, basically. I just like, the more I think about it, the more I try to put him around him. I don't know where he would go, first off. Like, I've tried to think of like, what would be a good team for like Lamar? What would be a good like fit? And I don't know a team out there that like right now that they brought Lamar in would have a scheme that's like perfect for him. But any team that bring him in, like he is a dual threat quarterback. I think one of the best, definitely one of the best of recent memory. Behind, I mean, obviously he's not no Michael Vick or anything, but he's pretty good still. And I just, like, for example, I would love him on the Colts. I'm not saying, like, I think he'd be pretty good on the Colts, honestly. I think he'd be pretty good on, like, the Jets, even. Like, I think there's a lot of teams he could be good on. They just might not fit exactly what he wants to do. And, like, it might not be as good as it is with the Ravens. And the third biggest thing I want to bring up about this is, like, the community, man. Apparently, Lamar is, like, a big guy in the community. He's always around, talking to people, like interacting with people, doing stuff for his community, and that's another big thing that I don't think the Ravens could afford to lose. Because if they lose him with how good he's been, like I get that, you know, it's a business though, so at the end of the day they have to make a decision, but with how good he's been for their community and everything, and with how good he's just been to the franchise themselves, losing him could just be a direct, very bad decision for them. Because, I mean, you see it with the Colts, you lose your guy, and that guy could not come around for a few years. So I guess that's like kind of another reason too why I think they should pay Lamar. I think he's going to end up, by the way, I think he's going to end up coming back as a Raven. I think they figure it out, some type of deal. What will the deal be? I don't know. They're going to have to figure out like the money and figure out how they're going to agree on like a certain range and everything. But man, yeah, they're going to have to figure out this whole money situation. Another franchise tag would be, I think, really bad for how they feel about each other and relationships going on in the future. Just because, but the biggest thing is like I get from there, and like Lamar has been hurt a lot. The accuracy is a question from time to time, but I mean he's a great dude. I think like I said, I think he comes back as a Raven next year, like almost for sure, because I think at worst they're going to franchise tag him. But these next 2 years, it's going to be very interesting to watch to see if you find who folds first and who goes to who when it comes to the money and everything, because somebody has to win this. Is it going to be Lamar or is it going to be the Ravens? Personally, if it was me, after what's happened with Andrew Luck and everything, I would just pay the guy, just give him the money, and then, like, at worst, I mean, especially for the Colts situation, at worst, if he gets hurt and can't play, I mean, for the Colts especially, like, look, we've paid so much quarterback money, and none of them have really worked out too well. Ever since Andrew Luck, man, like, we've paid Jacoby, we paid Philip Rivers, we paid Matt Ryan, and Philip Rivers was our best one. So, I mean, I would just pay him. I mean, especially, like, with the cap going up on the rate that it is, I would think that the Ravens would want to get ahead of this. Be like, all right, fine, hey, we'll give you your... I mean, I know it might mess up the contract, like, talks for other teams. Like, see, look, the Browns did it, now the Ravens did it. Like, I want my guaranteed money. But I just feel like that's kind of like the new future we're headed towards, potentially. especially with like some good quarterbacks like Joe Burrow. Like I would not be shocked if he got like a $300 million guaranteed contract or stuff like that, depending on what the cap goes up and everything. But especially that too, with the cap going up. I mean, if I'm the Ravens, I'd probably just like, hey, let's just give him the money, because I mean, at worst, I mean, it might affect them everywhere else position wise too, maybe, but that's your guy. He's the person who brings in the money and everything. I don't know. For me personally, like I said, I would pay him, but I think this is gonna be a whole another long offseason of talks, and I would not be shocked if it takes up to the coming weeks of the season for a deal to be made. So those are the two things I want to touch on a little bit, just some quarterback carousel news. I'm gonna talk about like Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo. Like they'll be, I'll add them in a little bit, but they aren't. I don't know. I want to kind of wait for a little bit more information to come out before I fully touch on that. So basically, end it off. I'll probably just talk about some stuff that's going on, like with the madness. Brandon Miller, for everyone who has been following up with the story, kind of knows about the story. Brandon Miller was apparently the guy who gave the gun to Darius Miles, that Darius Miles used to shoot up. I can't remember that girl's name, but awful tragedy in college basketball. I want to say it's like just less than a month ago or so, when Darius Miles shot up some girl in her boyfriend's car, killing her. And Darius Miles has gotten in trouble. And the big thing now is apparently people are coming out like Brandon Miller gave the gun. His car's at the scene and all that. I don't know the details, so I'm not going to jump in and all that. But that's just some of the big stuff that's been going around. And people were complaining about how, oh, why is he not benched yet? Why is he not playing still yet? So that's just one of the big things going around college. Alabama is having an insane season, playing really, really awesome. Have a freshman who's probably going to be drafted. Probably, he could be drafted first round easily. He might be a top 5-10 pick. He's that good. But their season, because of that shooting and everything, has been surrounded by tragedy. But the big nice thing is, I guess, like basketball-wise, Brandon Miller, he scored 41. And he had to go ahead basket with .09 left to beat South Carolina in overtime. But yeah, that whole Darius Miles situation is really, really well. Like I said, I'm not going to create a verdict on it. I don't want to touch on it even too much. It's just the whole situation is disgusting, man. Like, the gun violence around college basketball too right now is just, whether it's like being involved or people actually doing it themselves, just the gun violence in general around college basketball needs to be under control, because my goodness. And another thing, like Virginia got upset yesterday against Boston College. That was a bad loss for them. That's going to drop them a little bit, because Boston College hasn't done much of anything. And just, yeah, when it comes to, those were the two biggest things, by the way, that came out. Michigan State also yesterday won the first home game after the shooting that they dealt with their campus. And I don't think I've touched on it either. For those of you who don't know or haven't been really seen anything, basically, a shooter went on Michigan State's campus. I believe he was a 45-year-old man, if I read it correctly, or is an older guy, and 3 people end up dying. And then just the biggest thing for that community is there's now kids who dealt with 2 or 3 school shootings in their lifetime. Like, there's a girl who dealt with, I forget what shooting it was. I'm gonna look it up just so I don't butcher it. But it was just something tragic, man. Like, the fact that the shooting still happened on campus and everything. So this girl survived the 2012 Sandy Hook massacre, and then had to deal with like the Michigan State issue. And then there's people who dealt with the high school shooting like 2-3 years ago around the Michigan area that didn't want the Michigan State to deal with that. Just get back to the gun violence in college basketball, man. Like, it's just tragic and beyond sad, man. All the stuff that's going on in the world with that when it comes to that type of stuff. But like I said, basketball-wise, great win. It was a great atmosphere. It's just nice to see a community healing after going through something super, super tragic. I mean, that's sad, man. They're just kids going to class and everything, and they got to worry about their safety. Like, I couldn't imagine, honestly. When it comes to like some big matchups for the rest of the weekend and going into the weekend. So we'll start with Thursday, Northwestern Illinois. That's going to be very, very interesting. Illinois is favored right now. I kind of like Northwestern in that matchup. That's going to be, well, I think the only ranked team that's really playing today. Tomorrow, Friday, usually there's not much. It's Xavier Seton Hall. That shouldn't be too bad of a game. Don't have a line on that, honestly, because the game hasn't really been out yet. It just is scheduled. Like, it's not out on the betting sites, just scheduled. St. John's, Connecticut. That's going to be an interesting game Saturday, just because St. John's is pesky in Big East. Kansas State, Oklahoma State should be interesting, but Oklahoma State's been on a bit of a slide lately. Arizona State might be interesting. That's some potential. Other than that, I mean, like Virginia, UNC is going to be interesting to see how UNC responds after their tough loss. And then Gonzaga, St. Mary's. That's probably going to be the game of the day Saturday. That's the Saturday night game. That should be a really, really fun game. St. Mary's won last time out, and I think this game basically like will seal the conference. Will seal their conference, and St. Mary's has not won their conference since 2012. So if they win there, I think that is a huge, huge program victory. And then don't forget Purdue IU also play Saturday. That's the second biggest game I'd say probably. I think Purdue probably is going to win that one just by the way they have been playing. They got really hot against Ohio State. They already had kind of a bad slide. It's time for them to get right a little bit, I think. And then Sunday, there's like Northwestern Maryland, Illinois, Ohio State, games like that. So nothing like too major. Cincinnati Memphis will probably be a good game, I would say. But overall, I think that's probably where I'm going to end my show for today. I had the podcast earlier in the week where I basically broke down all the NFL news, talked a little bit about the bracket, and then we had today where this is what Thursdays are basically going to turn into. I'm going to have like 2 or 3 big NFL storylines to talk about and just kind of like my view on them, and then just kind of keep up with the tournament and everything. Tomorrow I'm appearing on Captain by a Hook with the Red Beard with my boy Rowan. From what he told me about, going to be a really fun episode. Very similar to, I think, kind of like last week, just kind of talking about teams and just getting taken over by the madness, because it's that time of the year where the madness is coming. We are nearly under a week, I'd say, away from March. Yep, we are 6 days away from March, which means the madness, it's coming.